It's Thursday night. You know what that means. It's time for Magic and Martinis. Please welcome your host, Scott Wells.
Hey, hello everyone, and welcome again to the 23rd episode, actually, a consecutive week of us having our Magic and Martinis Thursday virtual happy hour because it beats drinking alone. The idea of this, again, is for you to join us because I know that right now it's a difficult time and that a lot of us, we're not attending Magic conventions or anything like that. And I really miss that opportunity for us to kind of sit around the virtual table, so to speak, here. But when we're in real time, we're kind of sitting around the table and talking with each other and having just great conversations and enjoying each other's company. Well, this is the next best thing that I think that we can do is by having a drink around the table like this and talking with some good friends as we do from week to week. I got a couple people who've already coming in over here, so I want to first of all say, yep. Hello, Dave Elliott. If you guys didn't get a chance to hear our conversation last week with Dave and Maddie Gilbert and Richard Turner, then I would recommend that you go back and take a listen to that one. And cheers to you, Dave. I know that you're probably drinking some bourbon right there. So cheers. And then also that John Custer joins us each week. He's another one of the regulars over here that joins us around the virtual table. Hello from Michigan. Thank you, John, very much for joining us here tonight. A couple of things, by the way, that I wanted to mention or point out that you guys are obviously no doubt aware of because it's all been all over the social media, of course, is the recent passing on the 20th of our friend, the amazing Randy. James Randi had passed, and I believe he was born in 1928. So he was 92 years old, and it's sad to see someone gone who is another legend. And many of us, I noticed, have been posting pictures on our social media that were photos we had taken with him when we were at Johnny Thompson's memorial service out in Vegas at his service. And so many of you are aware of that. But I just learned then this evening of the passing of yet another great, and that I haven't gotten but one confirmation on that. But that is Ken Klosterman. That I just heard that Ken Klosterman had passed, which was a very good friend of mine. I'd spent many nights at his home with him and his wife and seeing his marvelous collection. Of course, he's known as a world-renowned magic collector and everything, and also past international president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. So rest in peace and respect for you guys. You guys are certainly missed. So also, hey, Hal Myers, I'm glad that you're here then too, buddy. Appreciate that. I showed, you'd sent me a picture a while ago. You were drinking a martini. It looked like a cocktail, a shrimp cocktail that you had inside there. That was kind of cool. That was funny. So listen, I'm going to bring up, we got we got three wonderful guests that I want to get right to. And so I want to, first of all, introduce this first person. And with, again, a little video, and perhaps this might be the best way of trying to introduce this person. I had asked him if he happened to have some sort of a sizzle reel or something, and he didn't. And so I thought, well, let me put something together. So he's seeing this for the first time then too. So let this speak for itself, hopefully.
Sorry. Well, you know, when I do this, I never take any chances whatsoever. I always carry a couple extra.
All right, yeah, we have Dan Fleshman with us, and he is one of the magicians you'll find at Vail and Beaver Creek Chop House, and they'll be doing some late night shows later on Thursdays throughout the season. But Dan, what do you have for us today?
What number did you write? Let's turn them over.
Flip it over? Okay.
39.
39. How do you know that?
39.
No.
And that is where this piece comes into play. It's like the last piece of the puzzle. When I add that piece of the puzzle, the ends become the middle the ends, leaving us backwards shot of just two ends, a middle, and your magic scissors.
I would not want to play poker or anything with you. You've got too much up your sleeve.
We are back here at the Chop House, and believe it or not, they have a magician on staff that performs magic shows, and he makes some amazing cookies also, just from what I hear, but those things always disappear. You like to make stuff disappear. Dan Fleshman, how long have you been doing magic?
43 years.
43 years, and you come and you've been here with the Chop House for 7.
That is correct, 7 years now. Little snap, it goes back onto the jigger. Now I'm using a trap door. If I drop it in, it goes right to the trap door. Would you do me a big favor? Lift that straight up. That's a cork. So if I just give it a shake, they change right in the 50s. These are real $50 bills, front and back and front.
That's amazing.
When you do this, you're gonna have a little money to burn. What the heck? Cool.
Well, let's see some of your tricks on what do you want to do first?
As a soft spot, when you find that spot, the solid portion to the soft, right about there.
Wow, look how easy you make. Look at that. It looked like it just floated right through the ring.
Wow. So there you are. There is was something pretty cool. And we've got some more people coming in. There's Alexander Pinedo from Puerto Rico. Pretty cool. Glad to have you here. Hello, Joe Presto. And also Jerry Costello is up in Colon. Thank you for coming in. But right now, again, welcome my friend we just saw. And he performs there at the Chop House and has for several years. Please welcome Dan Fleshman. Hey there, Dan.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
So glad that I'm great. Glad that you're here. Thank you very much for joining in. And let me bring on our next guest then also, and someone who has, one of the next two have been on Penn and Teller or Fool Us, and this will tell you a little bit more.
Human beings are story-consuming machines. I tend to look at each piece of magic as a story. I write the end first. That's just an easy way for me to structure my work.
There it is. And so please welcome my next guest over here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now. Please welcome David Parr. Hey, David.
Everybody.
So glad that you're here then too. And let me round out the rest of this picture of us with one more person who's staying up quite early in the morning. Actually, it's tomorrow morning right now at 1 o'clock over in London time. And the video that I put together for her is actually a compilation of some things. And so it's the first time she's seeing this put together then as well. And I also say it's coming from her YouTube channel. So keep in mind what she's saying as you're watching this also, because there's some pretty interesting stuff that she's going to tell you about right now.
Hi, I'm Romany, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, before Corona changed the world, I was known as a magician, performing beautiful visual magic with a comic twist all around the world, mainly on cruise ships and in theatres, festivals, and as a speaker. But of course, now that world of travel and show business and spotlights has completely vanished, or at least been put on hold until I think about 2021. So over lockdown, I went to live in a Buddhist meditation retreat centre in the Lake District here in England. It's very quiet. I'm living here with my husband and about 100 monks and nuns and lay people. It is a beautiful place and the grounds are very extensive, and so I'm working as a gardener in the grounds. Now, I've never worked as a gardener before, so it's all very new. I propose to take you with me on my adventures. Now, the reason I say that is that I am a big believer in real magic. I believe that when you whisper your wish to the listening winds, then all sorts of help steps in to help you go in the right direction. And I've also found in my life that the biggest, most accurate signpost is when you feel joy and when you have fun. It's to follow the line of that fun. So what I propose is to bring you weekly episodes of my adventures. As I intentionally decide to follow the fun and see what life brings. Now, I'm also not giving up on the dream of show business. I've wanted to do that since I was a little girl. However, I'm also going to listen to find out what new paths it might be fun to go on. So if your life has also been put on hold, or you're curious as to what your new life post-corona can look like, then please join me as I explore the honest ups and downs of a life into the future. So if you're interested and you'd like to keep me company, then hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and we'll voyage forward, making life much, much more magical. Thank you.
Wow, there it is. That's amazing. And she's actually in a monastery with 100 monks then right now. Please welcome, I guess, from England, Romany.
Hey,
Romany.
that was such a good video, Scott. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I hope that each of you appreciate the time that I put in for all three of you. That those were all completely new to you, first time ever that anyone's seen it, including yourselves.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Scott.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
So cheers.
But
Thank you guys for joining us.
I have a few more videos for you to edit if you'd like, if you on a job, because I've got a job for you.
Okay.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Keep my martini cold over here. A couple of things, by the way, that came in Dan, this was kind of interesting that I wanted to mention that Steve Mills had just said when he was older, he found magic. When his first lecture he saw was yours, and because of him, he's carried that ring and string for over 30 years. Wow. And Dave Elliott also says, I still do Dan's string and ring routine. So that's pretty great. That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty great. And then we've got another guy that is Peter Brown, who joins us from time to time and down in Australia. So it's a different time over there. I think it's tomorrow evening, I think their time then too. And up in Michigan, then Harriet Jacobson is joining us too. So, hey guys, thanks very much for joining us. So listen, I wanted to thank you again for all being here, being part of this. And particularly, I know it's like about 1:30 over there, and there's so many things I want to talk about. And this is getting to be the spooky season. And I know that typically right now, Dave Parr, that you're doing some things that will actually be, you wouldn't have had time for this except for right now that you do. So what you do, is that, what is that, Spirits from the Cabinet or something like that? What is the show?
The show I had running in Chicago for a year was called David Parr's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah.
And that ran for a year in Chicago, and then I took it on the road for most of last year. And I had more stops planned on that tour for this year, but they all went down the drain with the pandemic.
Now, did you change that up a little bit? In other words, that whenever that you were coming into this season of Halloween and spooky stuff, did you change things on the shelf and whatever?
Yeah, I designed the show to be very flexible. The premise for it was that there was a cabinet on the stage, like a bookshelf with all sorts of weird artifacts on the shelves, and each artifact had a story to tell, and some mysterious effect to perform with it. And there were points in the show when the audience got to choose which artifact we'd examine next. So there was a kind of improvisational aspect built into the structure of the show. So it would be different each time based on people's choices.
But have you also found that during this season of spooky season that you tend to get more private party opportunities for doing spook shows or seances? Or
absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I was supposed to be doing an artist in residency at a theater here for 3 months leading up to my Halloween show in October. So from August through October, I was going to be doing a series of different shows each month leading up to Halloween. And of course, that all was canceled. So instead, I'm doing my online show on Halloween night.
And so if people want to view that, then how do they go about that? Or what?
I will drop the link into the chat. It's Halloween in the Sorcerer's Lair. The Sorcerer's Lair is the online show I've been doing since April. And it's a live stream magic show. I'm actually on the set for it right now.
Okay.
So a lot of the objects you're seeing around me are used in the show. And so I live on this set. I just dropped the link for tickets to the Sorcerer's Lair into the chat.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is that that is a chat that goes privately to me. So I'm going to put that into that's okay. What I'm going to do is to put it over here in this. And so this way that we're going to make it as a banner also. Scroll along the bottom, and there we go. The people will be able then to see that. And maybe someone can put that also then in the chat for Facebook or for YouTube then as well. Dan, let me ask you then too, do you ever change some of your things at restaurants or whenever you're doing something either for Halloween or even around 4th of July, or do you have holiday themed types of things you do, Christmas types of close-up tricks?
I have nothing exciting to add to any of that. I'm probably the least exciting guy on this interview tonight, as far as changing things up. And, typically I work, when I'm performing, I'm usually there during the summer, middle of June till Labor Day weekend. And then then I work from like the middle of December till the first or second week in April, depending on when Easter falls. So I don't really do any themed type magic. Although I thought about, maybe I do the anniversary waltz and those types of things. So
right.
Other than that, but hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah, I live in Halloween Town almost all year, so for me it's like not a big deal to like put Halloween stuff in my show. I live in this.
Yeah,
world.
there are a few people like you and Max Maven and Todd Robbins and Paul Prater and Vince Wilson. Some people who are Mr. Halloween. You mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing, Dan, I want to get to you in just a few minutes also about some other things that you are doing that are not necessarily having to do with the season, but has to do with some baking. And I want to get to that in just a minute. But before we do, I want to say a few things over here then to Romany then as well. Thank you very much for staying up late and being with us here this morning.
Well, I mean, in the old days, what is it? What day is it today? Friday.
Yeah.
Thursday
here, Friday there, yes.
Well, in the old days, whether it's a Friday or Saturday, I'd be on the road. I mean, what is it? I'd be driving home from the gig now. But since there's no gigs, I started sort of trying to go to bed at 10 o'clock so that I could get up at 6 o'clock. But normally, I wouldn't get home till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But life has changed.
Yeah.
It certainly has. But one of the things too that you mentioned whenever that you were talking about your YouTube channel and everything that you are currently and encouraging people to subscribe, which I do recommend that. That sounds very interesting that you're going to each week kind of take people along on a journey, let them see what you're doing just in some short snippets and everything like that. But also that you are in a monastery right now with 100 monks or something, and you are working as a groundskeeper. So tell me.
Well, I have to update you. So in March, yes, I came up to the monastery. England locked down. It was a really big scramble. So I had a house in Brighton, south of England, with a beautiful theatre in it. I had my own little 25-seater theatre, but I realised that, there was going to be no work and I couldn't afford to live in my house. So I quickly had to destroy this theatre. I threw everything into the garage, quickly moved up to a tiny little cottage, which is around me, up in the north of England, an hour north of Blackpool. And my husband lives in the monastery. And so that monastery shut down. So I had a choice. I could either live on my own in the cottage or be in the monastery. So I chose to be in the monastery. In the monastery, you're not allowed to do nothing. You have to work for your board and lodging. So I started being a groundsman and I really got into action. I've never done anything like that before, but I like keeping fit and I like being outdoors. So they had these grounds that no one had taken care of for about 5 years. And I just leapt into action for about 3 months. After 3 months, they let us out. So I have come back to my cottage and I'm not being a groundsman anymore. Thank God.
Yeah. So what are you doing then right now back at your cottage? Are you, you've already got the book finished. I guess you're really trying to just promote that a little bit more.
Well, thank you, Scott, for making that video because it reminded me of my new thought. So I've always been a believer in you should follow your heart, but mainly follow what's fun. Think to yourself, what do I want to do? Not what should you do? And if you have the benefit of no kids and no mortgage, what do you want to do? And after months of not doing any magic up here, and there's no shows, there's no work.
Right.
I thought, what do I want to do? And the only thing in my heart was like this idea, why don't I get my book and magically manifest 1 million readers? Now, in my mind, it was a really big trick. That 1 million was such a big number that it was impossible. I'm a magician. Why don't I make this magic happen? This was just this idea. And everything in me wanted to do it. So I started work on the 1st of September and I've been working full time. But what's weird is that when you follow this sense of fun, you think you're selling books.
Right.
No. What happens is other stuff happens. So hence I'm on tonight tomorrow morning, I'm now doing a talk to a charity for breast cancer awareness. This Monday, I was on the BBC because I wanted to get on to talk about my book. I've suddenly got a channel, Abra TV, thanks to Tim Wise. And because I was on the BBC and I plugged my book, they didn't like it.
They didn't like it? Oh, because you're plugging. That wasn't why you came on.
Right.
Gotcha.
But I thought I would plug. Anyway, I got a message from the BBC producer in the morning saying we were uncomfortable with you doing that. And I thought, right, that's fine. I'm not going to wait around for the BBC to plug my book. I'm going to get my own channel and do it myself. So it was a no, which led into a yes. So at the moment, I have no desire to do shows, but I have every desire to just collaborate with everyone and just send this book out into the world. So it's quite weird, but I'm just following the joy in that. And it's brilliant fun. I've never been so busy. So yeah, it's weird, but fun.
One of the things that I like is how that you have, where you actually, you make things happen. In other words, that you first of all imagine it and then it happens. And that's something that I felt like in your book as I was listening to the Audible version of that, is that you were you had ideas, you had goals. And I was thinking that exactly, for an example, whenever that someone when I play golf, that the best way to hit a good shot is not only have skill, but also to visualize what the best shot's going to look like, how it will curve, where it will land, how you're going to hit it and everything. And so after you visualize that, then you have a better shot, as opposed to, it's the same thing like with, I constantly say on the podcast about how that you need to have goals. You need to know where you're going to be going, because if you don't know where you're going, then as they said in Alice in Wonderland, then any path is correct. So, but you need to make a plan and follow that plan, and you'll usually get there a lot faster. So with the fact that you're doing this right now and during this time, it's an ideal time to do it. And the way you're going about this, of visualizing and then making it happen, you'll probably get 1 million people.
Yeah, I think I probably will. But the funny thing, Scott, is I have a slightly different perspective in that I just set a goal. And to me, it's just like a big number, a big impossible number, 1 million, could be whatever. But then I wait for the magic to happen. So I set that goal because I found in my life, that's what happened. I had a goal, but then my path went a different way. But that was cool because that path was really, really good fun. And I couldn't have expected it to happen. And isn't there a quote from Goethe saying, I can't remember what it is, but basically follow your bliss and doors will open where there were only walls. Right. And so you follow your bliss, and then all these unexpected circumstances open up that you couldn't have imagined, which that's really what I like about life.
John Lennon famously said, "Life is what happens while you're making other plans."
Right.
Right. Well, I think that it's important, kind of the way that you're planning that is there's nothing wrong. Of course, as I say, you should have a goal. And along the way, if something else gets in the way that might divert that and be a better goal for you to reach for. In other words, I wanted to be vice president, but an opportunity came to change companies and go to another company as president. Well, why not take that? And as opposed to staying with the same company, that things come out of the blue that you may not have been expecting, where that you might have been planning to do a certain amount of shows in a year, or you're going to be working to get on a cruise ship, but then suddenly you get a TV series or something. Like, that's not
exactly. So, for example, I think, all right, I better do a vlog every week on YouTube, which I never did before, and you do that, and then someone sees it and offers you a TV show. And then you forget about all the books, or maybe because you get on the TV show, you sell all the books. But you know, yeah,
exactly. Weird. And going back to Dan, I mentioned to you a minute ago that there was something else that I wanted to get back to you, and I know that one of the things that during this time of quarantine, I had Ariane Black on a while back, and on Fridays that she does Ariane Black's Magic Kitchen, which is a lot of fun and has great recipes. I highly recommend that you go and check that out then too. But you have been involved with doing some cooking way before this quarantine. So this is something that you've had as an ongoing thing, which is a cookie baking business as a side thing. So could you tell us more about that then, Dan, and what's going on?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's mostly I'm just doing it for fun. I give away a lot of cookies more than I sell. And, I mean, I give away thousands of cookies, and you know, I've taken them to magic conventions. I've taken them to Magic Live and over to Chris Kinner's party when he has his parties over there. And So most of the cookies are a lot of my own recipes and I mean I used to I used to hang in the kitchen with my mom when I was a kid, and she was always baking. There's 7 kids, so she was always doing something in the kitchen, and so it just kind of I started baking them back in Missouri before I came out to Colorado, just to give us around Christmas time I would take them in to the restaurants I worked at and give them to the staff and management as a thank you, and then the rest that I've been at the Chop House now 12 years out here, I take them in for the staff. Hey, there's nothing like having a good cookie. Somebody could be in the worst mood of the day, and all of a sudden you bring a little delight with just a chocolate chip cookie or whatever the cookie might be, and all of a sudden that shift right there, that just taking the bite, the shift is made. And that's why I do that. And so I like I said, I've given away tons of cookies, and the name of the company is Danny's Cookies. Get one before they disappear. And then through the goodness of a great cookie, we share a little magic. So.
Yeah. I would think that if you're going to be going to the restaurant like the Chop House or wherever else, that sometimes that the cookies are probably more appreciated than tips. I mean, of course, the cash is good, but if you're giving something that people will enjoy and they'll remember, hey, he's the cookie guy, as opposed to giving money and they forget about that, as far as wanting to share something with people like that. So I think that is just a great hook, certainly.
Well, when I was back when I was here for I think 2 years, and in 2011 and 2012, they finally convinced me, some friends, to go to the farmers market in Minturn. And my buddy TJ, his family owns a restaurant there. It's called the Minturn Country Club. It's a steakhouse. And so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to get the license and all the tents and everything you need to do a summer thing. But I went ahead and did it. And I didn't do it with the intent of making money. I did it with the intent, really, 2 reasons. I wanted to see if the cookies were appreciated. And they were, but I did as a cross sales thing, because I would tell people at the restaurant that, hey, come on out Saturday morning. I'm at the Minturn farmers market. Come on out. And when I told them I baked cookies, they kind of laughed, saying, "Oh yeah, right." I said, "No, seriously, come on by." And so I would do magic actually in that little booth that I had, selling cookies to draw people over. It was like a trade show. And then people that would come over, see me doing magic, I would tell them, "Hey, I'm at the Chop House restaurant these nights during the week, stop up." And so it worked both ways. I had people come from the restaurant to come over and buy cookies, and then I had people that had never seen me at the restaurant before that saw me doing magic, and now they start coming to us. And these are people that are actually still continue to come out to the restaurant to see the magic, just about every other year. So you kind of pull some people in through the cookie business. Absolutely. That is funny. That's pretty unique. When you've been working at Chop House now over 12 years, the video we saw earlier was obviously recorded earlier by a TV station. And when you got that, you were working with Danny Archer at the time, and then he went off and did something else. Is that right initially? That is correct. Danny, I was going to mention him. He was instrumental in getting me this gig there. There was another magician that was working there, and he decided to move to Los Angeles. So Brian Nolan, who was the owner at the time, wanted to keep 2 magicians on. And so Danny ended up giving Brian my information. And Brian emailed me and said, "Hey, listen, I'd like to meet you. I'm coming into St. Louis to see my wife's family, visit my wife's family." And, unbeknownst to me at that time, he had already talked to 12 other magicians prior to meeting me. So we got together, and, it's like that instant connection you have with somebody you've never met before. Right. And you meet them for the first time, and it's like, I've known this guy, I just don't know where from. And what's really crazy is, Danny was there, and we both worked 5 nights a week. We rotated from Vail to Beaver Creek. And then Danny, of course, most people know he's got his theater out there in Philly now, north of Philly, Huntington Valley, called Smoke and Mirrors Magic Theater. And it's a great theater. I've never performed there, but I've visited it, and it's just a really, really nice theater. And I wish him a lot of luck with
it's a fantastic theater. I performed there last year, and
that's great.
It's ideal. It's really well set up in that it's set up steeply raked, almost like an old timey operating theater, and so that you can do close up, and even the back rows can see the tabletop. It's very nice.
And do they have dinner or anything there as well, or is it just drinks, or what do they have?
No, I think they have a concession stand and stuff, but and they have like a party room if people want to rent it out for parties and stuff. But it's just the show room in there, and it's really a fantastic place.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to mention over there that Dan, as far as your cookies, if I got that right, is that right? danscookies.com?
Yeah, I don't have a website. They can actually go on my face. They can go on my. Thanks, Scott. You're going to work on a website for me. I appreciate that. You did a great sizzle reel for me. I'm going to hire you to do my website. And no, actually, I have a Danny's Cookies Facebook page though.
Oh, Danny's Cookies. Okay, got it.
You do any gluten-free ones, Dan?
I'm sorry, Romany?
You do any gluten-free ones?
I do not do any gluten-free. Not as of yet. I don't.
Right.
Any vegan?
Yeah, right.
Vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do vegan cookies?
Dan.
Yes.
Do you do vegan cookies?
Do I do
vegan?
Vegan? No, I don't do vegan. Don't do gluten-free. No. I see I've lost 2 customers already.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll eat their share.
Well, maybe if you guys, I had some cookies up earlier. I was showing Scott a plate full of cookies.
Can you bring that back out again?
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm going to go down and get them.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
You can kind of see what they look like then as well. So let me ask then also some other things that you've been doing. I know that you were the first female to win the Magic Circle Stage Magician of the Year, and that was something again that was part of your dream that you had talked about in your book then as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I only went into that competition because, as you remember, because Scott's been really good and he's listened to the book. Where were you walking? Were you walking somewhere while you were listening?
I was walking around the bayou. I was going up and down. I live just 2 miles from the middle of city center of Houston, so I was walking along the bayou downtown and back.
What's the bayou?
That's a slow-moving body of water that's an estuary that goes from a lake to another larger body of water down to the Gulf or whatever. A lot of times to the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, like there are a lot of bayous in Louisiana or Florida.
Right. We don't have bayous.
No.
Well, I didn't actually have the dream of winning anything. I just had a terrible, terrible failure to practice. I never, ever would practice. And so the reason why I went in with that competition, the Magic Circle Magician of the Year, is I thought, if there's a jury and a whole theatre of magicians, I will practice. And I did practice. But when I won that, my magic was terrible. And when I say that, people go, "Oh no, you're being modest." No, I saw the video. The comedy won. But when I saw the video of I remember because I do a lovely flash to diamonds, a big diamond necklace. Then I went flash and I went, and it fell out of my glove on my sleeve. It was awful. It was awful. And I saw that video and I was ashamed. And that's when I decided that I would work as hard as I could to do some magic that wouldn't embarrass me. So It was after that I started really working on things.
Well, one of the things go ahead, finish the story.
No, but it was the same with the what was it called? The World Magic Awards in Las Vegas. Again.
Siegfried and Roy. Yeah.
Right. I won those, but I didn't mean to. I only entered so that I can meet Siegfried and Roy. And so that's what I mean about you have a plan. My plan was to meet Siegfried and Roy. And I thought, well, I can't, even if I'm the worst, they're still going to come backstage and say hello to me. That was my plan. And then what happened in the competition, and if anyone's watching that was there, what happened was when I got 2 volunteers, they both ran up to the stage and one ran up so fast, he wasn't very fit and he fell over with sort of, we all thought he was going to die. And in front of 1,000 magicians, and we're talking, Lance Burton, Siegfried and Roy, everybody, right. There's this guy on all fours going, and I'm on stage in character going, "Oh, I've killed him." And then he stands up and I say, "What are you going to do?" And he says, "I want to stay." And after that, it was really funny and I won.
Yeah.
But you couldn't You couldn't have known
It might have gone another way.
Oh my God. Imagine if he died. I would have been infamous as the only magician to kill.
That killed in Las Vegas.
That's true. I remember Walter Blaney telling me a story one time where he was being introduced, in which that it was like for a corporate party or something, and at the end he was saying, "And now please welcome Walter Blitt," and then the guy fell over, and they rushed up on stage. He died on the spot of a heart attack, just as Walter was coming out with his music playing and everything. And so he said, "Well, usually they say the show must go on, but tonight we're going to stop the show." And we're not.
Oh my God. But Scott, in that competition in Las Vegas, I was on after the interval, and whoever it was that was in charge of the competition came on and said to everybody, in a moment, first of all, I have to let you know that our friend Gary Darwin is in hospital and he's got diabetes, and he's had to have his, I think he said, his leg amputated or something like that. Some terrible news about a great friend of everyone. And then and everyone was quiet, and then he went, "So now please welcome the comedy performer, Romany."
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, someone had just mentioned that also. That looks like Dan is back with dessert over there, or desert. So I guess, but dessert. So the cookies.
So here we go. Let me bring this down a little bit so you can see these.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Is there too much light on that?
A little bit bright, yes.
A little blown out.
They look delicious.
They still look delicious regardless of being blown out. Yeah, by the brighter light.
Man, I'm getting hungry.
So this is.
Yeah, now it looks like night vision.
What's that?
Now it looks like it's night vision.
So anyway, this is a raspberry shortbread. It's a thumbprint cookie, basically. And then they got the ooey gooey peanut butter chocolate chip. And then there's the oatmeal banana walnut.
Oh, man.
And then this is Reese's. Right here, Reese's peanut butter cups and Reese's Pieces with peanut butter. So yeah, you can taste them from there, guys.
That looks amazing, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Peter says yummy. Over there too. Well, thank you. Yes, those do look good, and I look forward to seeing you in the reel sometime, so I can actually give those a taste then too. I wanted also to talk with both you, Dave, and Romany about being on Penn and Teller, what your experience was, if you got rejected and then finally got added on to that, or if that was something that happened straight away, or were you had actually been. Well, it looks like that your cookies are really lighting up the internet over there. Then, Dan. Anyhow, of whether or what it was like. I mean, I think to begin with, that when you, first of all, Romany, you were actually invited, I guess, to come on, and then I want to ask David about your experience on that too. So, Romany, you want to share that? I heard that on your audio.
Yeah. So I was in the very first series. They basically asked every magician there ever was to audition. And I remember I took my birdcage act up and sort of did my birdcage in an empty hall. And then they picked people. But the thing was, you remember Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent? At that time, Simon Cowell was being awful to magicians. They were really making fun of magicians. There was rumors that they were disrupting magicians' props. So we had no idea what this program would be. And we had no idea what Penn would be like. He can be a little bit aggressive sometimes. And so we didn't know whether he would be like Simon Cowell and going, "Well, you're rubbish. What are you doing?" And I remember thinking about it. My husband said, "Don't do it. Don't do it." And I thought, and I sat in the garden and thought, but what if it went well? And I decided to take a chance. And you know what? It was lovely from the beginning to end. Penn was wonderful. The whole team was wonderful. Jonathan Ross, who was our host, was great. We were treated beautifully. It was a great pleasure, unlike Britain's Got Talent.
Well, that was what I was wondering. I know that this was before Penn and Teller had come over to the U.S. And so this was the earlier years when you and John Archer and other guys, and John Allen and others that were involved with this. And that obviously was a great concept that they later brought over here and have had great success here then as well. And so I just wondered how, now was Johnny Thompson involved with that over there as well? And was Mike Close there working too, or no? Who was working with Johnny? It was just a one-man team? Or?
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't really see him. He was really behind the scenes. Oh, that's right. He wasn't allowed to liaise with us because like we were on one side and he was on the other. So, so he was very much invisible. And, we just did our act and we didn't know what was going on. But, the production values are really good. For example, for me, I've got this tunnel of love and, my tunnel of love, it's made out of a shower curtain top thing. And I've made the material. I've done my best, but, and one of the girls said, would you mind if we made you another one? and they made me a really beautiful one, too heavy. You couldn't travel with it or anything, but it was beautiful. And they made me a beautiful set and, and backstage there was beautiful, makeup girl and they would treat it. I had to stand up all day because I can't sit down in my costume. And I had to wait all day. And finally, they bought me a really high stool so I could sort of just perch my bum on it. And they were like, don't you want to sit down? I was like, I can't sit down.
Just you can kind of lean up against something, but actually not sit down.
Yeah. And I remember Jonathan Ross because he's very well known for going Wass, Jonathan Wass. He can't pronounce his R's. So I said to him, will you please introduce me as Romany? And he said, sure, I've got my kids through school on that. No problem. So he was very nice. And you know what? So when I was on that, it was someone seeing that. It was an agent, the biggest agent in England, rang me up after that and offered me work on these Seabourn cruises, 6-star cruises. And I got 10 years of work out of just doing that show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just after doing that show. And when people were talking, by the way, about that show then too, that the tunnel of love, which you're talking about, and the big curtain, that was the gypsy rope tie that people who've not seen that, the magicians, to know that it's a rope escape basically. That's a curtain that you're holding up, having held up.
It's not a real tunnel of love.
I think of a different kind of a tunnel of love as far as like at the carnival or something that it's a ride to go through. But I'm sure that it's a fun ride that you take people on in your show.
It's my favorite line. My favorite. I know it's a bit smutty, but I don't. I just say, "Have you ever been inside the tunnel of love?" And then I run off stage to get something while the audience laugh. And it's one of my favorite moments.
Well, let me now bounce back over to David Parr to ask about what your experience was, because you came on the first time and fooled them and came back then a second time then as well. But leading up to that first time, how did you actually get on or approach?
I had, first of all, I had been approached by AGT a number of times, and I turned them down every time. And I always said to them, I cannot place my public image in the hands of people I don't trust.
Right.
And, but I had heard from friends of mine who'd been on Fool Us that it was very much the opposite of that their goal was to make magic look great. And that was indeed my experience. So I pitched the producers a number of ideas. I pitched them about 6 or 7 ideas. I sent them links to different videos and they rejected every one of them. And
really?
Yeah. And
for how long? I mean, like a year or two or longer or what?
Well, this was for one of the seasons. I think it was the season before I was on. So season 3. And then again, the following year, I pitched them another set of different ideas. And the mistake I made was that I assumed they would not want to see any card material. I just thought they're probably inundated by hundreds of card tricks, right? So I didn't send them everything I sent them a link to was non-card material.
Yeah, they get tired of cards. I think they said over 30% of what they get are cards.
Right. So I avoided it. And so again, they rejected all of those ideas. And so I thought, okay, well, I gave it a shot. But about 2 weeks later, they contacted me back, and when they had gone to see the links on YouTube, they had watched another video. And it was a video of me performing this card effect that I had developed while my leg was broken. And they were like, "Can you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So when magicians ask me for advice about getting on to Fool Us, my advice is pitch them every idea you have. Don't try to anticipate what the producers want, because very often the producers don't know what they want until they see it. And so don't hold back ideas because you're trying to anticipate what they want. Pitch them every idea you have, let them sort that out, and then they'll tell you what they want. So that's how I got booked. They happened to like that card effect.
So it's just kind of persistence and inundating them with all different kinds of ideas, and that they're going to like something, just kind of the shotgun approach.
Yeah, if you have 10 ideas, pitch them all 10. Don't hold anything back because you think they're probably not into this type of thing. You just don't know until they tell you. So so it turned out that they wanted that thing. I think what they saw immediately was that Allison Hannigan would be fun playing that back and forth game with me with the desk bell and the decks of cards, and they were right. That was good television. And then the bonus of it all was that it actually fooled them, which was unanticipated by me. I mean, I thought my chances of fooling them were about 40% when I flew out there.
Did you have a pretty good feeling that in the second time, since you'd fooled them once, that you knew how to do it, that you were going to do it, or did they invite you back and that's because they were trying to get repeat people to come back, or what was that about?
Well, the second one, which just aired last week, I had pitched them a number of ideas, and I said, "Listen, I don't think any of these has a great chance of fooling them, quite honestly, but I think some of these would be very, very fun TV." And the thing that they asked me to do was an effect that they knew would make Allison Hannigan squirm.
Yeah.
So that was the producer's goal, was like to have fun watching Allison Hannigan squirm while pushing pins through my thumb.
Yeah, that was kind of a squirmy thing. Is that something that you typically do as part of your Cabinets of Curiosity show?
Yeah, it's in my cabinet show. Yeah, and it's a thing I learned when I was a kid. It was in the first book about magic that I ever read, and I've been doing it ever since. Of course, more sophisticated versions of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you been involved with? And we did a podcast episode some time ago, and I think I may have asked you about this, about doing some haunted houses. Have you worked on producing haunted houses?
No, I haven't recently, but when I was growing up, like every Halloween season, when I was in junior high all the way through high school and into college, I worked at a walk-through haunted house during the Halloween season. And it was the kind of thing, it was a charity haunted house where we'd find an old warehouse somewhere that was vacant, and we'd build a haunted house in it for a couple months before, and then we were the monsters in the haunted house.
Did you would put on costumes and masks?
I was a werewolf in the last haunted house I worked at when I was probably in my early 20s.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of get everyone's opinion on this, then also to have everyone kind of get in, because we're going to be having a Halloween episode coming up next week with some amazing guests, just like we have amazing guests then right now, but talking more specifically about Halloween and spooky kinds of things and seances, etc. That I'm wondering what Halloween is going to be like, particularly, most people are listening then right now in the U.S. because it's so late in the morning, early in the morning tomorrow there in the U.K. But let me ask you, first of all, I know that Halloween's a big deal in the UK also, and that you guys celebrate that, and you go out trick-or-treating and everything. And so, no, you don't. Oh, so you don't.
Well, it was only an American thing. We didn't used to. So trick and treat is very American, and it's only really in the last 10 years that the kids have seen it on American TV and started to do it. And in England, if you don't want to get involved, you just shut your gate. And I used to put a note on the gate saying the dog is asleep. Because
Romany, how dare you?
I really like Halloween.
The Great Pumpkin is going to punish you for that.
It's not into it. And also, I remember once I used to have a drawer full of chocolate, and I had a lodger, and I realized that every time the doorbell went, the lodger was giving away my chocolate to the children, and I had to go to therapy because of that, because it was so after that I put a note on the door saying the dog is asleep.
Romany is the spooky old witch lady who lives at the end of the lane.
I don't like Halloween. It's funny because I don't even like Christmas. I don't like anything.
Wow. No, Halloween was always my favorite holiday from the time I was a kid. And anything spooky, and I was into it. Right. So Halloween was a big deal for me. I mean, my birthday's also in October. So
in that video I showed to begin with, you talked about being kind of a crazy kid and you love spooky things. So that's absolutely true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All of that. Yeah. And it's why the spookiness is still with me to this day. I mean,
love it.
all that stuff I loved when I was a kid, I still love.
Yeah. Well, let me ask everybody, since we've got everybody here and talking about spooky things and whatnot, that what about your favorite Halloween or spooky movie or scary movie? Or do you like scary movies?
Yeah.
No?
I'm a total, I get scared very, very easily. Very easily. So I can't watch any scary movie. I mean, the last scary movie I watched was, do you remember Damien? Was it The Omen? And I was about
sure.
Right, and I was
That's
about
from
14.
the 1970s, dear.
Right, but well, I was about 13, and I just saw the first 5 minutes, and I had to leave. And it took me about 10 years to get over it. I cannot watch anything that's slightly scary.
It's such a camp classic. It's so goofy. It's not scary.
It's scary.
No, it isn't.
I'd say my
favorite
movies that have gotten a lot more graphic and scary, I think, since then.
Yeah. My favorite spooky movie, which I think is the best haunted house movie ever made, is the movie The Innocents, which stars Deborah Carr, and it's a gorgeous black and white, heavily gothic imagery film, and the Netflix series The Haunting of Bly Manor is based on that movie. And that movie is based on the Henry James story The Turn of the Screw. I think it's the best haunted house movie ever made.
There are just again a lot of movies that are out there. Then Dan, have you got a favorite also that you like?
Yeah, The Ghost of Mr. Chicken.
Don Knotts.
I love that movie.
What's it called? The Ghost of Mr. Chicken?
The Ghost of Mr. Chicken with Don
starring
Knotts.
Don Knotts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's classic. I just love that movie. I love Don Knotts, but I like it because it actually has some scary parts. But I think that movie was based off that episode in Andy Griffith's show where they went into that haunted house when Opie had hit that baseball into that house, and they ended up finding a still in the basement, and Otis was there, that kind of, because that kind of had that whole haunted house feeling. So maybe they based that movie on that whole episode.
You could handle that movie, Romany.
I think Romany, that would be up your alley.
Is it a children's one? And maybe I could do that one. Maybe.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a comedy.
You'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one of the things that I've gotten into here, I was trying to find something really scary, was the Saw series. And I don't know if you've seen that. I know, Romany, you haven't. I don't know, David, you may have. I'm sure David hasn't either. I'm sorry, that Dan probably hasn't either. But it is rather gory and bizarre kind of movie and series. And I'm up to number 6. In fact, I think they finished 6. And then there was another one in 2010 that was called Saw 3D or something. But it was pretty horrific and gory. And so I was looking for something that was really going to be sensational and gory, and that pretty much filled the bill.
Oh, if you want something like that, have you ever seen the movie Trick or Treat?
Trick or Treat?
Trick or Treat.
I have not.
R''treat.
Okay.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's an anthology story of all 3 different stories that take place on Halloween night, and they all sort of converge and interweave in an interesting way. and it's a fantastic. I watch it every Halloween.
But what is it that makes someone like you, David, really interested in scary stuff, and someone like me really too scared of scary stuff, and I like fluffy stuff? What, is it the way we're brought up? Is it? I don't know.
When I was a kid, I was kind of a scaredy pants, and my way, I think, of dealing with it was to face it, was to face it head on, right. and sort of make myself look at the things that scared me. So like the creepy comic books and the spooky movies and the haunted houses and stuff like that were a kind of catharsis for me, a way for me to face the things that scared me in a controlled circumstance.
Yeah.
And eventually I ended up working in those haunted houses that scared me. And I was the monster now.
Right.
So it lost its power to frighten me.
Yeah.
Because I was on the other side of the curtain. And
when I was young, I remember listening to or watching, trying to find something that would be very scary to me. And I would even, stay up late at night and watch these scary movies at midnight or whatever it was, as long as my parents let me 10 o'clock. They let me stay up that late to watch a show. And then I'd even eat like what they was called a nightmare burger or something. I would eat late at night to think, okay, I'm going to have a nightmare or something.
Wow.
And I wanted to be scared and have a nightmare, and I never have, so I really haven't seen anything that has really petrified me of any type. But I think that to answer your question, in my opinion, that I know then, Romany, that you are a spiritual person and have some different belief system in which that you are very sensitive to these kinds of things, of spirits and whatnot, and perhaps a belief in that. I believe in an afterlife. Your belief in the afterlife is different than mine, and perhaps that might be more realistic. Of what
I think I've got a very good imagination. So, for example, when I was a kid, I remember hiding under the bed because the wind was whistling like a ghost, and I couldn't move from under the bed because I was so scared. And then I had a triangular windowsill with the curtains, and I imagined a ghoul was behind this curtain. And so I think, and so if I go and see a scary film, what happens is my mind plays over and over and over, and I think it's behind me or something. So I don't think it's really spiritual stuff. I think I've got a good imagination, and it keeps going.
Yep. I understand.
Yeah.
So I'll just ask Dave also if you're familiar with the mask maker over there, if you know Don Post.
Oh, Don Post masks were the things I had when I was a kid. I had the Don Post masks. I had all the Aurora Universal Monster movie models. I had you name it. I mean, if it had to do with monsters or ghosts or something like that, I was into it.
Well, I as was I. In fact, I remember, as you probably do too, of the spook or monster magazines that had the Mummy and Frankenstein with Boris
Famous
Karloff.
Monsters.
Yeah, Famous Monsters. And I subscribed to the magazine.
Yeah.
I loved that kind of stuff. In fact, I, as a child, wanted to be a makeup artist in Hollywood.
Did you?
And this is an interesting, I've never told anybody this story. But I had like a little cigar box, and I made a little handle for it and everything. And I had some of my mom's makeup and everything. And I thought, okay, well, I can make up and put scars or blood type or whatever and start to do some makeup. And I wanted to actually be a special effects makeup artist. I was so inspired when I was probably, 8 years old or something.
Me too.
And I carried around a makeup kit.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, me too. It led to my being forbidden to do. It led to one of the things I was forbidden to do in the house. I would buy from the novelty shop these tubes of vampire blood. And it was a tube. It came in a white and red tube that said vampire blood on it. And it was very realistic looking blood. And the time I scared my mom by making this drip down my arm and going, she was like, okay, never, ever are you allowed to pretend that you are injured ever again. And so I was forbidden. My friends, I could freak out with the vampire blood, but my parents, no, I was not.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Can I share something real quick?
Yeah, please jump in here, Dan.
David, I don't know if you're familiar. St. Charles, Missouri, is kind of renowned for haunted houses. And a friend of mine, Michael Henry, who's also a very, very good magician, wrote a book a few years back, and I'll put it up here. It's called Ghost of St. Charles by Michael Henry. And it's a really great book on the different haunted houses. He gives actually a haunted house tour every year. I mean, I maybe he does tours throughout the year, but obviously the month of October is a big month. Whether it's going on right now or not, I really don't know. But again, his name is Michael Henry, and it's called Ghost of St. Charles.
Cool. Yeah, some of my friends do ghost tours. Christian Cagigal in San Francisco.
Christian Cagigal, yeah.
Tour of the Pacific Heights neighborhood of San Francisco, and Paul Prater does one in Little Rock.
Oh,
David, I'm just having a memory. So David and I were together. This is the first time I met David at the Mystery School, right?
Yes.
And in Santa Barbara. And one night they put on this thing where Eugene dressed up as a monk. So, you know, all we knew was we were walking along this sort of spooky nighttime thing with all candles, and we don't know it's Eugene, but he's there with a monk and his beard, and there's all candles, and we sit around him, and he says in his voice, "Tell me, if you were invisible and could do anything you wanted, what would you do?" And this was this sort of art installation.
Yeah.
And I remember that I thought, if I was invisible, I'd whisper in the ear of everyone, "You are loved." And I remember thinking that, and I wrote it down, and then it became something in my magic show. It's like, before I went on to do my magic show, it's like, okay, I'm just going to communicate to everybody watching that you are loved. But this was this installation, and it was quite spooky. Do you remember that, David?
Yes, I do. I do, because I was in a different installation elsewhere in that area, doing my own little spooky thing, my own little spooky scene. It was kind of a throwback to the walk-through haunted houses I worked at when I was a teenager. Very fun.
That was such an incredible. So there was just Alan there, Eugene, Jeff, Bob Neal.
Yeah. It was the first time I met Bob.
Dan Harlan, you. It was crazy, you know. And I was complete beginner.
I remember you showed up with this beautiful, like, huge Victorian dress, and you were like, "Well, but I don't have a crinoline for it," and you had ended up having to construct one
out of hula hoops.
Yeah, you made a makeshift crinoline for it,
right? But so Scott, when you were reading about this time when I said to all these magicians, it was a work in progress, and I said to all these magicians, and that was in the book, if you remember, I said, I can't actually do any of the magic. And they all laughed, and they thought I was being modest, and then realized I couldn't do any of the magic that, you know, that I was telling them all about. And then they all fell about laughing, and I went outside and went, what why are they laughing? I was a bit offended, really.
There was something, by the way, also right now on a podcast that I want to mention before we start to wrap up, starting to get to the top of the hour over here. Boy, it's gone pretty quickly. And that is a thing that Jordan Peele, I'm sorry, not Jordan Peele, but Keegan Key is the caretaker, basically. It's called 13 Days of Halloween. And it's about a half-hour podcast that is to be enjoyed with headphones, because it's in stereo, that you can hear things happening out of both ears, and so you are immersed in this situation. And it's a different story every day. Again, 13 Days of Halloween, just something else that you can listen to.
Cool. I'm going to make note of that. I dropped the link to the trailer for Trick or Treat into the chat there. Here and on Facebook.
Okay, good. Thanks for putting it on Facebook, because that's where it needs to go for people to see that then too. Well, listen, you guys have been fantastic.
I want to mention that
the
last time I saw Dan Fleshman was 36 years ago. He was the judge for a close-up magic competition in Milwaukee at a little regional conference called the Midwest Magicians Conclave. And I would have been just 20 years old. I would have been 20 years old at that time. And I ended up winning the competition. And I actually found the trophy.
Oh my God!
I went on a search for it, and I found it. This is the plaque that I won.
Wow!
Holy cow! That's awesome.
It says March 1984.
Hold that up again. Just let me spotlight you here in a second. Okay.
It says,
there we go.
March 1984, first place, tableside talent.
See, I was still at school when that happened.
Ah, yes. I was in my first year of college, I think. And I still remember exactly what you said to me after the competition. I remember the two of the judges, it was you, Dan, and it was John Shirley, who was an old school bar magician from Chicago.
I thought John Shirley was known for the balloon attack that he used to do, right?
He was known for that. He was known for doing a version of Diamond Jack. He was a Chicago bar magician of the old school, along with Jim Ryan and Matt Schulian
and all those guys.
and Dorney. Yeah. And so after the competition, you said to me, "You're going to go places." That's what you told me. And John Shirley said to me, "I like you, kid. You think funny."
I like that. Yeah.
And I'm happy for your success.
Yeah.
It was so cool, and it was cool to have met both of you. And it's weird that we've not crossed paths in 30 some years until now, but it's good to cross paths with you again.
Absolutely. It's great to see everybody. And we have to make it a point when I get back up that direction, I'll get a hold of you, David, because I'd certainly like to have lunch and, reminisce, and it would be fun to catch up.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And by the time you come to the UK, you're going to have the vegan, gluten-free cookies with you, a whole new thing.
You'll have to just give me a kitchen and give me the ingredients, and no problem. Yeah. I'll do the baking.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Listen, this has been nothing short of just great. Another wonderful evening, and it wrapped up. I can't believe when I looked up at the clock over here that it's gone by so quickly. And I know we dropped off a few of the live people watching right now because the presidential debates are going on, and some people want to watch that. And so they've got some new rules for the second and final debate. So anyhow, I know people are wanting to go and catch that then as well. Plus, there are some football games going on. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are playing and whatnot. So I know some people are wanting to jump off.
Oh, no, wait, we're going to share the secret to life and everything.
Yeah.
If they would just hang on for just a little bit longer over there, that would be wonderful. And so thank you guys again very much. That this has been just wonderful. And I want to mention again that today's convention. I kind of feel like this is like it's like a little convention. We have an opportunity where we actually get to spend some time with each other, and that's great because we can actually say hello as if that we're sitting around the virtual table, so to speak.
Someone just posted the secret to life, the universe, and everything in the chat.
Oh, 42, right? 42?
Yes, correct.
Exactly.
Thank you, Scott, for having me on, for keeping me up late and making a new friend with Dan and seeing my old mate David. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dear.
It's been lovely to have all of you guys over here. Each of you are special to me, and that's why that I invited you, because that you are good friends, and I look forward to seeing you in the real world then as well. Again, that this podcast is something that kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of pretend as if that we're still at a convention. We're still kind of together and being friendly and everybody and getting a chance to chat with each other. But then also it's a supplement to complements the podcast. The podcast is something that each week that I like to have something that is going to be timeless. So this week we spoke with Vince Wilson, and this was at the suggestion of Paul Prater, Dave, our mutual friend. I had Paul as a guest. He stayed at my house last year and did a podcast episode with him. A great guy. You had mentioned how he has a show. And I'd asked him if he wanted to be on next week, and he said no. But let me suggest Vince Wilson. So Vince Wilson is going to be, and he does Edgar Allan Poe's thing, the Poe's Magical Theater out in Baltimore.
Yeah. And he's producing my show online, my Sorcerer's Lair show.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah, he hosts it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I spoke with him for a podcast, which is going to be coming up, which was today. And so that was just really cool. He had a lot of interesting information about storytelling versus bizarre magic, as well as talking about the Poe Theater. And so if you guys haven't had a chance, whoever is watching this, to be sure to go over and check that out. Next week, I'll give you an update. Is another cool guy, Adrian Sinclair. And I know, Dave, that you know him. As far as Dan, you and Romany probably don't know who he is. But I was turned on to him by our friend, mutual friend, who was, just a second, who had told me, Jessica Jane Peterson. So JJ had told me she was working, she and David Minkin were at the Stanley Hotel and performing there. And they said, yeah, you need to talk to this guy. And so I got together with him, and it is awesome. And he has a story. He was on America's Got Talent also. And
Fool Us. He was on the same episode of Fool Us that I was on.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So he was on Fool Us as well as America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And he went pretty far on America's Got Talent then as well, because he has just an amazing, he's done some time in the big house. And he talks a little bit about that and some of his, some of the things.
Yeah, Penn actually recognized him in the episode, was like, wait a minute, last time I saw you, you had a British accent and a different name. and so he like copped to it. He was like, yeah. I was not a good guy.
And that's exactly what he said on the podcast as well. He said, I was not a good guy. And so I walked into the police station because I had a girlfriend. I decided I'm going to change my life and I'm going to cop to everything and say, look, that I did it. I'm the guy you're looking for. And he did time. And I asked him about, so when you're doing magic, they know you as a magician, are they out to break your fingers? And he said, interesting story. And so you're going to have to listen to next week to hear what he had to say.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so as for this episode that we're having then right now, this 23rd episode of this Magic and Martinis Thursday virtual happy hour, next week, we're going to be having Todd Robbins on, along with
another weirdo.
Yep. Along with Vince Wilson, and also Jamie Salinas, who is my compatriot who does a lot of seances, and he's been just killing it doing a lot of virtual shows. In fact, this afternoon, Romany, he was doing something not for the Magic Circle, but one of the other Magic Circles there in England someplace. He was doing a live lecture for them then as well. So listen, again, cheers to each and every one of you guys. Thank you so very much for joining us, and particularly over there, Romany, staying up so late. Let me just take another drink of this since I just shook it up. Cheers. Thank you, Romany. Thank you, Dan Fleshman. Thank you also then, David Parr. You guys I love you. And I'll see you then later, everyone. And so until next week, this is going to be Scotty out.
Yeah.
Thank you.